Have you ever noticed how anti-gun politicians never seem to call things by their actual names? Which is funny because they can't call anything by actually what it is. Beside the point. Semi-automatic rifles become weapons of war. Standard magazines suddenly become high-capacity magazines. And homemade firearms get labeled as ghost guns. Now there's a new term they're pushing, and it's called machine gun convertible pistols. And the target? Glock handguns. That's right. Now, some lawmakers are trying to ban one of the most popular handguns in America because criminals can illegally modify them with a device called a switch. But here's the question that nobody seems to be asking. Should millions of law-abiding gun owners lose access to firearms because criminals break existing laws? Let's talk about it. Several states have already passed or are trying to pass laws targeting Glock and Glock-style pistols. Now, this argument is that these handguns can be modified with an illegal conversion device, often called a Glock switch, which allows the gun to fire automatically. The problem? Those switches are already illegal under federal law. In fact, the conversion devices themselves are legally classified as machine guns. Manufacturing them, selling them, possessing them, or transferring them is already a serious federal crime. But instead of focusing on the criminals using these devices, gun control activists and politicians are now targeting the handgun itself. Some cities and states have even filed lawsuits against Glock, claiming the company somehow bears responsibility for criminals illegally modifying its products. Think about that for just 1 second here. Glock does not manufacture these switches. Glock doesn't sell these switches. Glock doesn't advertise these switches. And Glock certainly doesn't tell criminals to install them. Yet they're being blamed for crimes committed by people who are already violating multiple federal laws. One of the most aggressive examples comes from Maryland and the city of Baltimore. Their lawsuit argues that illegally modified Glock pistols are creating a public safety crisis and that Glock should be held legally responsible. But recent research from the Crime Prevention Research Center raises some serious questions about that claim. And this is what they found. After conducting an extensive review of cases involving Glock-style pistols equipped with switches, researchers found that a total of 43 murders across 20 separate attacks over a 5-year period. Now, don't get me wrong, every single murder is tragic, absolutely tragic, but put that number into perspective. Those 43 murders account for roughly 0.05% of all murders committed during that time frame. Meanwhile, more than 6,000 murders were committed with knives and other cutting instruments during that same period. And researchers found no evidence at all that law-abiding gun owners are the ones converting their firearms. It's always the criminals. Even supporters of these laws typically focus on criminal gangs and repeat offenders, not ordinary gun owners. So if criminals are the problem, why are lawmakers targeting legal gun owners? And here's one more thing. If politicians are truly concerned about illegal machine gun conversions, why aren't they aggressively prosecuting the people that's caught with them? Just recently in St. Louis, police reportedly stopped a vehicle, detained 2 individuals, and recovered multiple firearms that had been modified with illegal sears. Police celebrated the arrest and said the city was safer because those weapons had been removed from the streets. Meanwhile, according to reports, prosecutors declined to press charges and the suspects were released. So on one hand, politicians tell us these illegally converted firearms are an urgent public safety crisis. But on the other hand, people that are being illegally caught with them are sometimes walking right back out the door, back out into the streets to do the exact same thing. That does not make much sense. At the end of the day, the debate isn't really about Glock switches. Everyone agrees criminals shouldn't have machine guns. The real question is whether the actions of criminals should be used as an excuse to ban firearms owned by millions of law-abiding Americans. Because once again, we're seeing a familiar pattern. Instead of focusing on the criminal, the focus shifts to the tool. Instead of enforcing existing laws, new bans are proposed. And instead of targeting illegal behavior, politicians target lawful gun ownership. So let me know what you think in the comments. Should lawmakers focus on prosecuting criminals who illegally modify their firearms? Or should they continue pushing bans on guns owned by millions of responsible Americans? If you're enjoying these videos, if you're getting anything out of them, I would really appreciate it if you would hit that like button It really would help me out a lot. And if you want to continue to stay up to date with all of these breaking news, all of these articles, all these things coming out regarding the Second Amendment legislation and all these bans and all these stupid politicians doing all this crap, do me a favor and go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you later.